So you'll tell me when?
Yeah. Right now, I'm.
This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
What up, football fans? It is Friday, December 18th. You are watching the Audible. My name is Jimmy the Bag, and I'm sitting beside, as always, the legend, Donnie Rightside. Donnie, how are you doing on this? Should I say Friday? On this Tuesday?
You did say Friday. I was getting
Sorry.
excited. You had me excited, man. I was like, wow, we already went through the whole week.
The holiday season, it's all a blur right now. It is Tuesday, December 18th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Donnie, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. Excited. Another new week. And look, you're heading down the backstretch here. Week 16, week 17. Some teams are folding that tent, Jimmy. You certainly don't want to be on the wrong side of, oh, yeah, our franchise quarterback's going to be benched this weekend because it doesn't matter anymore. So always got to read the tea leaves throughout the week. We'll set it up on Tuesday as we usually do. Driving home towards Friday. We'll have some fun this week. Looking forward to it again, Jimmy.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff coming out about Aaron Rodgers, interesting stuff coming out about Cam Newton. It's great. I felt lost not having you guys on Friday. I'm coming off a 4-3 weekend, which I'll take. Rafa, do you have my NFL record? Can we pop up the NFL record? Thank you, my man. Yeah, coming off a 4-3. The Seattle game, I really messed up. I had Seattle minus 3.5. And even though I had the over in the game from earlier in the week, which I never bet, I ended up jumping on the 49ers team total under. So I had 2 losses there. I hit yesterday with the Carolina Panthers. As you can see, I am not in Costa Rica. I am on Main Island in the Gulf Islands where my mom lives, and it's really nice to be around family. Feel very good. And I'm very excited that we have all these great cappers in the house. So let me give a quick shout out. We have Drew from SBR Forum, ready to rock. Abba Zabba 78, Robert Weimer, Ryan D, Nick. Oh, Nico and I both cashed on Carolina last night. Robbie Tagaloa, who hammers NFL. John F, Matt Mallon, Tomarino, Tomor, Anil Frank, Matthew Varnum, Kang Capper in the house. I'm looking forward to this, Donnie. We've got a lot of work to do in a short period of time. Quickly, though, I wouldn't mind just hearing what you have to say about last night's game. Do you feel like the Saints were at the end of a very tough 3-week straight on the road, and their offense will get back in action once they're in the dome? Or what do you take from that 12-9 game last night?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? It seems like, Jimmy, the MO right now in the NFL is, like, I don't like to really bet unders, but now you're seeing some, you have 13, 12, 13, 14 games on film. You have attrition, offensive linemen are banged up, wide receivers, running backs finally wearing down at the end of the year. What a great game the Carolina defense played. It's just a shame that you keep running a quarterback out there who either is checked out on the football season, is injured, and or both at this point. And I would hasten to see where the Carolina Panthers would be on the season if Cam Newton was motivated and maybe not injured. Instead of being on a 5 or 6 game losing streak, each one of those games you could probably lean on and point to a multitude of plays for Cam Newton in those games to actually make a single play and win the football game, which he hasn't been able to do. But last night was a snore fest. But hey, if you're going to cash tickets and win money, Snorefest might be the greatest experience of your life because you end up winning the game, even though it was a sweat at the end. So say what you want about Carolina. They're home for the holidays, and I can't imagine, Jimmy, if they're just going to keep on running Cam Newton out there because he's either injured in both legs, both shoulders, or just his head at this point. I can't get my arms wrapped around it, but he was terrible last night again.
He was very bad, and then they made the big story about the broom and the bottle of wine from Cameron Jordan. I was like, oh, maybe he'll show some heart, show some effort too. He was disappointed. It seemed like he was disappointing himself on the sidelines, but clearly Cam Newton's just not someone to trust. And I said this at the beginning of the year that I never know what to do with the Carolina Panthers year in and year out. They're either great or they're terrible. I have a difficult time reading them. I was very fortunate to cash last night. Obviously, everybody saw that very near touchdown. Very fortunate to cash. I'll just take the cash and move on. And we have a ton of work to do, and I'm ready to get to work. And I know that the cappers here in our chat, Tasha Batista joining us from Toronto, Odar Lira from Venezuela. We got people from all over the place. My man Sean Mick in the house. I did truly feel lost without you guys on Friday. It was funny. It just felt like something was missing. So I cut down in the quantity of plays that I bet. I only ended up betting 7, really 6, and 2 of them were from one game. I was really keeping it tight. But again, that Ravens Buccaneers the under and Buccaneers games are just too easy, Donnie. We keep hammering them to great success. But let's get to work right now. Let's get to work. Why don't we start with this? So we have no Thursday games, which is great. So we're going to be able to hammer both or every game twice throughout the week. Let's start with Redskins Titans. Open Titans -10, now a mix of -10s and -10.5s. Total opened at 37.5. It's dropped a half point to 37 across the board. Saturday in Nashville, partly cloudy, high of 51 Fahrenheit, low of 37 Fahrenheit. Wind 7 miles per hour. Josh Johnson led Washington on 2 scoring drives. I love this about sports. I love the story, but I truly believe that the story is going to have a sad ending. I think at some point, these quarterbacks that come out of the woodwork, this guy hadn't thrown a pass since 2011, he's going to get smashed at some point, and maybe this will be the week. And I actually expect it to be the week, but I look forward to breaking this down with you. First victory of Johnson's professional career, 16 of 25, 151 yards, ran for 49 yards. It's a great story. Everybody likes it in the dressing room. Adrian Peterson, again, showing very little life, 51 yards on the ground, got half of those on that winning drive. Vernon Davis, head and neck injury, left came back. Sorry, was cleared to return, came back, and then left with a concussion. They lost an offensive lineman. They lost a cornerback. They lost 2 cornerbacks in Holsley and Johnson in that game. Tennessee kept its late season playoff push rolling, 17-0 victory. Derrick Henry, second straight Giant game. He has 408 yards over the last 2 games with Mariota. 12 of 20 for 88 yards. Kenny Vaccaro left in the first half with a concussion. Sharif Finch, linebacker, left in the second half with a shoulder injury. This Titans defense still looks strong, held Saquon Barkley to just 31 yards on 14 carries, a very low total. I know after working with you all year, which has been such a gift to my capping, I know that we don't take unders this low, although this might be one that somebody would, but I know that that's not something we do, and I'm comfortable with that. Titans, huge favorites. This doesn't feel like a team that covers big spreads, although we saw them do it on a Thursday night in Jacksonville. Redskins, Titans, Donnie, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because you're taking a look at a double-digit spread, and you hit it right on the head, Jimmy. When you're taking a look at the Tennessee Titans, there's no more. They don't need style points at this point. They just need to keep on winning and moving forward. And they know they're going up against a team which, if you're going to game plan for the week, I'm pretty sure in the Tennessee huddles and pregame workouts and film study, it's not like, hey guys, look, we got to be on our A game this week. We got to put up 35 to 40 points in this game to have a shot versus the Washington Redskins. That's not the case. I mean, you figure if you can get into the high teens, low 20s, you should be able to put this game away. But the interesting part about that is we're not looking to cover 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, or 7. You're looking to win this game by double digits, close to 2 touchdowns, which I'm not comfortable laying with the Tennessee Titans. The one thing you could say about the Washington Redskins, after it looks like they gave up against the New York Giants, they were brutal in the game versus the Jaguars, but that doesn't, you don't hold that against them because they did what they had to do and ended up winning a football game on a road with a quarterback that's never won a football game as a starter in his life in the NFL, coming off the scrap heap about 2 weeks ago. At least he has a couple games under his belt to get in and play. Tennessee overall is the much better team. They looked very good on defense against the New York Giants, but it was rainy. It was Eli Manning. So most teams are going to look good against an Eli Manning Giants team, especially in the rain. But you got some injuries that you have a concern with on the Tennessee Titans. Early in the week, Jimmy, not putting too much into this game. 10 looks a little bit strong to lay here. If I had to do anything in this one, might lay it here with the Washington Redskins, take the points with the Redskins. Because keep in mind also, I don't think the Redskins are making the playoffs. But if you look at the standings, they're right in the thick of it. And who's to say that they don't say, hey, if we could beat Tennessee and we can beat the Eagles, we're going to get into the playoffs here. At least they do have something to play for. And 10's too much for me to lay with Tennessee.
Yes, 10 is too much to lay with Tennessee. And I believe, I love when teams come together. And this Redskins team has come together under a ton of adversity with big injuries to their quarterbacks. But I also have always been good at saying, well, this story is going to end now. This feel-good story is going to end now. And so I feel like both are in play. Clearly, this guy who hadn't thrown a pass in the NFL since 2011 has come in and been a feel-good story, made people believe. But we just watched this Titans team shut out the Giants with Saquon Barkley. And even without Beckham, they still have Shepard, and they still are dangerous. And they shut them out, no problem. You have to think that the Titans will be able to do the same to the Redskins.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's going to be lower scoring, and we always joke our Bill streak came to an end on Sunday, just backing that overs in the low 30s, or excuse me, in the mid to high 30s. This game has the similar appeal because when you say styles make fights out here, neither one of these teams is going to come into the game saying, "Look, we really got to get a good jump. Let's go no huddle. Let's really push the tempo." It's almost like you just sit back in this one, Jim, and you say, "Who's going to make the mistake first? Can Washington really, hurt us here? Why don't we wait until Washington moves it into, positive territory? He can put a drive together that can put any points on the board." I just see a slow down game. You lean on Henry, you lean on Mariota out of the pocket, you build that lead, and can't you see it, Jimmy? Like fourth quarter, let's just say it's, I don't know, 17-10 in the fourth quarter. Tennessee's going on a drive to end the football game, not score points and just hold on and drive it to midfield, punt them deep, make them go the length of the field. It just seems like a lot of points early in the week to me. That's all.
It does. And luckily we'll have a chance to, sit with this knowledge all week and then hammer this again on Friday. Greg 007 says Titans are not the Jags, leaning Titans to win and cover. Tomore says running quarterbacks like Johnson are solid before they get big contracts. They keep running. Jeremy Miller, love the Skins plus 10. 10 is a lot in the NFL. Don't see Tennessee covering that much. Yeah, this doesn't seem like an exciting or fun game to start this show off, but we'll keep working on it, and we'll definitely find an angle. Let's break down this next Saturday game, which is a lot more exciting. Ravens at Chargers. Oh, one thing though, back there, sorry, it was somebody here in the chat said, I'm interested to hear about the weather. If it's ugly weather, then maybe I'll take the under. The weather is not going to be ugly. It's a pretty nice day there for Nashville, 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, so it's not going to be too bad. And I went over the weather on each and every one of these games, thinking that maybe we'd have some angles with the weather, but there's not a lot of them. Let's go with Ravens at Chargers. Open Chargers -6. Now mostly -4.5, a few -5s. The total opened at 45.5. It's pretty much still there, mostly 44.5s, 45s. Saturday in LA, partly cloudy, high of 70 Fahrenheit, low of 52, and no wind, 2 miles per hour. Baltimore now 4-1 since Lamar Jackson took over for the injured Flacco. The only loss in overtime at Kansas City. Jackson ran 18 times for 95 yards, one TD, 14-23 for 131 yards. Everybody's saying great things about him. He directed 2 drives that lasted more than 7 minutes before closing out closing out the game with a drive that consumed 7:08. That is winning football, tiring out defenses and keeping your defense fresh. Ravens held the ball for more than 37 minutes. Impressive. 242 yards rushing on the ground. Gus Edwards, 104. Kenneth Dixon, 48. Jackson averaged 5.3 yards with 3 kneels included. Baltimore is the first team since the 76 Steelers to run for at least 190 yards in 5 straight games. Baltimore's second-ranked defense did its part, held the Buccaneers down, and now we come to a Chargers team on an extra day of rest and extra rest and preparation after beating Kansas City on Thursday night. This team is rolling. What a miracle comeback, down 28-14 when it was 28-21 with 39 seconds left. 2nd and 10 from KC's 10-yard line. The Chiefs had a probability winning percentage of 99.9. This is a special Chargers team. We've talked about the Lugit injury. We've talked about the Merriman injury. They just seem to keep ticking. Rivers threw for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have 2 picks. Gordon tried to warm up, couldn't go. Eckler still dealing with the concussion. Keenan Allen hurts his hip early in that game, and yet this team seems to keep rolling. What an exciting matchup. Ravens at Chargers on Saturday. Donnie, any early leans?
Yeah, early leans. I mean, I like what Baltimore is doing at it. You can't take anything away. That was a great win, great comeback win they had no business doing. It seems like that's the Chargers' MO this year. They got rocked in Pittsburgh and won. They got rocked in Kansas City and they won. I mean, what do you have to do to throw the knockout punch against Phillip Rivers? But the interesting thing about this game is when you looked at those other games in the Pittsburgh Steelers, they'll give you some. They'll turn it over. They'll play a little bit more up-tempo. Same thing with Kansas City. They might give you a turnover here or there, but they're going to play up-tempo and try to get you into a score fest. This is going to be absolute role reversal in this game because the Chargers, theoretically, they're one of the slower moving teams in the NFL. How many times they come up to the line? Phillip Rivers makes 19 adjustments. They snap the ball with 1 or 2 seconds left on the play clock religiously, and then you flip it over to the Baltimore Ravens. Same thing. I mean, they're not in a hurry to get anywhere, and they're going to run the football to keep the clock moving, so you might have less possessions in this game. When I look at the Baltimore Ravens, I don't want the Baltimore Ravens, Jimmy, in the situations that they've been at home, playing bad football teams, laying more than 7 points, because that's not advantageous to what they actually want to do or want to cover, because all they're looking for with the rookie quarterback's going to run the football, Jimmy, just win the football game. Let's win and move on. There's no style points. The kid's throwing for like 125 yards per game, so you're not going to have any pyrotechnics here on offense. But the one thing that you are susceptible for the Chargers is against the run. They can rush the passer, but you know what the best tonic to rush the passer is? Have a quarterback that's faster than your entire defense to get out of the pocket and make plays by himself. So when those two pass rushers, Ingram and Bosa, come up the field, he can escape and get out of the way. But that's not really what the Ravens are going to try to do or want to do. He's going to drop back, 15, maybe 20 times at the most in this game, keep the score low. Early in the week, Jimmy, I'm trying to find a way to take the Ravens, because as opposed to laying 7.5, 8.5, or 9 points like they have been typically at home, now you're falling back into that role where they went to Kansas City, getting about a touchdown, 6-point range, hang right in there to the end of it. It's going to be a great football game to watch, and I'm looking forward to it on Saturday night.
I'm looking forward to it too, and I am with you on the Ravens early in the week with 5 points. I think that's too many points. We've seen this Chargers team that we call it no home field advantage, all 16 games on the road. We saw the Broncos go in there and take out the Chargers. This is a very good Ravens team, a team that I enjoy watching very much. Strong defense, Lamar Jackson. It's such a treat to not see Joe Flacco back there. I didn't realize how much I disliked him until he wasn't in there, and I got to be excited about Lamar Jackson all the time. Abba says Chargers covered -4.5. They are rolling. Nico says Ravens will challenge Rivers. Good points, Donnie. Ravens +4.5. Robert Weimer says Chargers can't afford to slip up. They have to keep pace like a touchdown. The Sport says tease Baltimore up to 10.5. Excuse me. What do you think about this total? Early in the week, I feel like, man, I think I should jump on the Ravens at +5. But this total, I'm very hesitant to make a move around. It seems like it's a pretty sharp number.
Yeah, it looks like it's right on the number there. And again, at 45, we're not looking at 37 to 38. 45 seems about right, because I'll get back to my original premise where neither one of these teams are really in a hurry. And you can see where Baltimore's going to say, we're going to run the football, or at least we're going to continue to run the football and try to run the football unless the Chargers can put them out of their comfort zone and get them up maybe, 7 to 10 points and say, all right, Baltimore, we're going to have to start throwing to get back into this game, because that's not what Lamar Miller is built to do. So 45 leading under. And also, let's not forget, like Melvin Gordon's probably going to come back in this game, or you already can't run on the Ravens, or they show, a great propensity to stop the run throughout the season. He already admitted he's not 100%. Austin Eckler is still in concussion protocol at this point. And then again, you said Keenan Allen, the same thing, hasn't practiced today, and he's going to be banged up coming into this football game. You're getting the Chargers at a really good time if you're the Ravens, because even if you have components that are coming back, well, how healthy are they really coming back to at this point with their two top backs seemingly down at this point? So it'll be an interesting game, but I'll lean on it early in the week too. I see some stuff coming. Maybe Keenan Allen practices later in the week and he's fine. Eckler clears concussion protocol. Melvin Gordon looks sensational in practice. Then we might have a little bit of a change, but right now I want those points with the Ravens.
Yeah, I want those points with the Ravens too. I also feel like this is the time of the year. Too bad the Chargers have to play before the Chiefs, but why risk it with Keenan Allen when he's such an important part of the puzzle moving forward? Why risk it if he's hurt? Again, with Eckler dealing with a concussion, why push him back if Melvin Gordon isn't quite ready? I understand they still have a 25% chance to win the division, and the Chiefs are going to a tough game at Seattle, but I would definitely not push it here with these guys coming back. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they believe that they can win without him. They just beat the Chiefs without all these guys. So I like the breakdown early. I'm uncomfortable with the total, and I agree. I'm certainly looking at the Ravens at +5 early in the week. Robert Weimer says the bag is subdued today. Hey, I'm 3 hours earlier, man. I had to wake up at 5 in the morning in a power outage to get to the Low Shack in the Bag show. It's early on the West Coast, but I'll liven up, man. I'll liven up for you guys. This is what I love doing. I love working with my man Donnie Rightside. We're having a great football season. Let's keep rolling. Move on to Sunday. We have Bengals at Browns. Open Browns -7 now, mostly -7.5. Still some sevens. Total opened at 46, 45.5 across the board. Sunday, Cleveland So this is where we get to talk about weather and break down how it will affect the game. Mostly cloudy, high of 36 Fahrenheit, low of 30 Fahrenheit, wind 13 miles per hour. Donnie, I'm going to keep talking about this game, but the first question I would like to hear from you is, at what number do you feel like the wind starts affecting the passing game? And this is supposed to be at 13 miles per hour. The Bengals ended their 5-game losing. Oh, yeah. Do you want to answer that right now? I'd love to hear what
I was
number
just
you
going to say,
look for.
anything under 15 miles an hour, I don't pay all that much attention to. But anything above 15, now you're looking at, are you punting as opposed to kicking a 51-yard field goal in that range? Passing game, I mean, it takes a whole lot of wind to throw off, these NFL quarterbacks with their rocket arms. I mean, how many times are they throwing deep anyway? But 15 miles an hour is usually that point where maybe I start factoring it in.
Interesting. I'm very thankful to know that from you. Bengals ended their 5-game losing streak with a 30-16 home win over the Raiders. Mixon is back to what we saw from the beginning of the year, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sam Hubbard, 2 sacks, forced fumble. Driscoll does not look good, but no one expected him to look good. 14 of 33, 130 yards, interception. Boyd reached 1,000 yards. AJ Green out for the season. Boyd hits 1,000 yards, first time in his career, and then hurts his knee late in the first half. Didn't return, said the injury isn't serious. Vontaze Burfict missed a second straight game with a concussion. That was something we talked about. Some of these guys who have no chance at the playoffs, they're not going to risk a concussion issue and just try to be ready for next year. Browns have an extra day to prepare after that 17-16 road victory over the Broncos on Saturday. Broncos still have a shot at their first winning season since 2007, even their first playoff berth, thanks to their win over Denver. Browns have multiple road victories for the first time since 2014. Surely the Browns are a much better team than the Bengals. And I guess we just have to forget the vividness of the Browns being so horrifying. Do we take them to win by more than a touchdown here, Donnie?
Yeah, it's a tough one because now we're looking at the backup quarterback who stinks, right, Jimmy? And early in the season, we were saying, I don't want any part of this team, even when they have their starters in, if A.J. Green is out. Now, we know he's out. So then you have a wide receiver coming up right behind him in Tyler Boyd, who's playing his best football of his career. Now he's going to be down in this game. So you're telling me I'm going to take out the two weapons that we have at wide receiver. I'm going to downgrade the quarterback position. Now, they can run the football. Mixon's been amazing. I mean, if you look at the last, 4 weeks there, they've been over 100 yards every single game, 6.5 yards a carry, 4.8, 4.5, and 4.2. They've been getting it done on the ground. You can run versus the Cleveland Browns. But it all gets back to the point is, who's rested and ready for this game? Cleveland's looked pretty good on offense over the past 4 to 5 weeks, especially since, Hugh Jackson's been cut out of the mix. Freddie Kitchens dialing up some pretty good stuff. Baker Mayfield playing well. You let Chubb loose in the backfield, and it's seemingly working out. Healthy now at wide receiver, and some of those pieces are clicking. Can I get Denzel Ward back in this game, who sat out last week? That's a nice win without Denzel Ward going into the Mile High City, pulling out that victory. Now you're coming home with some momentum, and they're a young football team. Wins matter to them right now, which in Cincinnati, I don't really think wins are mattering too much, but this is one of those games where right off the line, it seems high. You say, I'm not laying 7 points with Cleveland. They're lucky just to win football games. And I hear that sentiment. But if I go later in the week, Jimmy, and I say, you know what? We're going to sit Vontaze Burfict. Oh, yeah, Drake Kirkpatrick, his knee flared up a little bit later in the week. He's going to sit out of this football game because they stomped this football team, a much healthier Cincinnati football team, just a couple weeks ago. I want to see some injuries as the week goes on here because you might look at a Cleveland blowout if things go your way. If you can bring back Denzel Ward on one side, they have no passing game. So if you're going to say, what's the point for Cincinnati to say, well, we're going to win this football game and run Mixon 35 times in this game? For what reason? Just to wear him out or possibly get him injured? I need to see a little bit more later in the week, but I don't want any piece of the Cincinnati Bengals right now.
I agree. The more we've talked about it, the more I find the Browns appealing. Tom Moreno says the line opened at 6-5. I will be giving opening lines from Bet Online. They come to the market first, and I respect that very much, Tomor. So that will be every time I say an opener, that will be a Bet Online opener, and Bet Online opened it at -7. I agree. And I think that when the injuries come out, when the Bengals start saying this is who we're not playing, we're going to see 8s on the board and 8.5s. I think maybe if you like the 7, you should get it now. And you know what? I just might do that. What do you think about this total, Donnie, that opened at 46 and now 45.5 across the board?
Usually I would look at this and say, 45 is pretty low, but the way Cleveland and Cincinnati said it, look, when you take weapons away from teams, it's hard because you can't really engage in shootouts back and forth because you're going to be limited. If A.J. Green and Boyd were playing this game, heck yeah, we're going to like that. But if you're going to take away their best weapon at wide receiver, Jimmy, and you're going to give me back my best defender in the secondary this week, I'm not going to go over in those type of conditions. I can see Chubb on the ground, Mixon on the ground, churn and burn of the clock. I would lean under at 45 in this situation just because the weapons are a little bit limited here.
Yeah, I think that the under is certainly in play here. I don't know if I want to make a move on it. I don't trust this Bengals defense on the road at all. But early in the week, I find that the under is appealing. But if I can grab the Browns at -7, I think that I just might do that. Jason Finley says Cleveland, good D, under. Cleveland's got nice D, but if you can get 17 points out of the Bengals, you're just going to need a 28 from the Browns, and then that's not out of the question. Robert Weimer in Philly, nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to make an early move. This might be one of the first early moves. Let me ask you this about an early move on the Ravens. I know we already broke that game down, but do you think that it's going to be fives are going to be off the board soon, or do you think because the movement from 6 is now mostly 4.5s? Do you see that movement makes sense to me?
Yeah, what's going to be interesting with that one, Jimmy, because I know perception is a lot of reality, especially with people coming back early in the week. You know what people are saying? I don't know if I want to bet until Keenan Allen is ready. I don't know if I want to bet until Melvin Gordon, I see him in there. Let's just say all systems go, so to speak. I think you're more likely to see this line probably close at 5 or less, or stay at 5 or less in that range. But I know how it gets as the momentum builds through the week, where all of a sudden you might see a Friday practice report. Everybody is ready to go for the Chargers, and that might impact this game a little bit because if the Chargers are 100% full go, they're a really tough football team, and they're going to have a decent matchup. But if you see late in the week, maybe Keenan Allen's going to be on a pitch count and Eckler's still going to be in concussion, it's a really hard one to predict because there's a lot of stuff that you still have to clear those hoops and hurdles. I imagine there's no way this line goes above 5, though. I'll stay at that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Tom Marino may have nailed this. Bengals team total under should be a good bet. Browns offense has looked good, though, with the new coordinator. I think that's right. And I guess in this last week with the Niners Seahawks, I overthought the game. And I should have just stuck with the over in the full game, but I was going to have a losing bet anyways, because after I left that full game over alone, it was between the Seahawks over 24 or 23.5 or the Niners under 19.5. So it was a losing proposition on either side. I like where you're at, Tomor. I think that's a great idea. I think that is an absolutely great idea, and that Bengals team total under is very appealing to me. Thank you for sharing that with us. Let's keep rolling. Buccaneers at Cowboys. Open Cowboys -8.5, and then everybody saw the Cowboys get shut out. Now -7s or -7.5 at plus money. Total opened up at 44, and it got bet up immediately. 46.5. A 47 just came on the board. Buccaneers coming off a 2012 loss at Baltimore, as we said, allowed 242 yards on the ground. Jameis Winston, 157 yards, no TDs. Mike Evans caught 4 passes for 121 yards. The rest of the team did nothing. We've seen these teams like the Packers who have one wide receiver you have to keep an eye on and how easy they are to defend. And clearly that's what's happening in Tampa. Levante David, God, is he good. 12 tackles, 2 sacks. No one else had a sack. Just loving what I see out of Levante David week in and week out, especially now that he's feeling healthy again. Zeke ran 18 times for 87 yards, caught 7 passes for 41 yards. The Amari Cooper dream run has come to a halt. 4 catches for 32 yards. Dak Prescott just 24 for 39 for 206 yards, 1 interception. The Cowboys' number 3 defense allowed 139 yards on the ground to Marlon Mack. Cowboys finished with 292 yards, their lowest total since acquiring Cooper in a trade. Cowboys, is this a Cowboys bounce back spot, Donnie?
I think it is a Cowboys bounce back spot. I mean, last week we couldn't have nailed it anymore talking about the Indianapolis Colts, where the Cowboys went in here with just a exhale type game, like, whoo, we beat the Eagles. Looks like we're going to be in the playoffs. The Eagles will probably lose to the Rams later tonight. Let's just go in this game and not get hurt, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we're up at the half. We'll play really hard. The only thing that made it really interesting for me is I thought they should have lightened up on Ezekiel Elliott. Still gave him 18 carries in that game, and then also, another 7 catches, so 25 carries coming off of a 40-touch performance. I don't know how much longer Ezekiel Elliott's going to be able to do this in the NFL if they're just going to keep running him into the ground, especially in a meaningless game, which I thought the Indianapolis Colts game would have been a great game to spell him. I mean, not sit him on the bench because you still want to win in the NFL, but maybe say, hey, we're going to give you 10 runs out here, maybe about 5 passes, and we'll see where we're at if we have to press the needle in the fourth quarter, if we're up or down 3 points to win the football game. We'll give it a go. But this was a clear indication this game was one of those where the Cowboys really weren't interested because they didn't need to be interested. It's an out-of-conference game. You come home against Tampa Bay, you take care of your business. I need Zach Martin back in this football game. There's no question about it. I need Dak Prescott to play a little bit better. Tampa Bay can rush the quarterback. So if you're not going to have Zach Martin this game, maybe a banged up, offensive line and in a little bit of flux, that might damage him a little bit. But the one good thing is Amari Cooper should be a lot more wide open this weekend running through there. I mean, Brent Grimes will probably try to check him a little bit, but he doesn't match up so great. Sort of a smaller cornerback. It just looks like Dallas should win this football game. Their focus should have always been on this game. But again, you're looking at the key ingredients, Jimmy. Like, we come on here not to talk about who's going to win the game, because I think Dallas is going to win the football game. But can they cover the 7 is what the question is going to be. And I think they can. Because I just want to see like how, during the week, read the tea leaves on who's healthy, who's coming back. Because Ezekiel Elliott should run wild in this game if he's healthy and ready to go along with that offensive line. I think Jameis Winston will be scared into a couple picks. I think that front 7 will really get after, because you're looking at one of the best offensive lines in football for the Colts, and they manhandled that front 7. The Tampa Bay offense can't do that. Peyton Barber is not going to run, up and down the field on that front 7 or that secondary, and you should be able to slow down. And what's the best way to slow down Mike Evans? How about throw a cornerback that's just as big, fast, and physical as he is with the Cowboys? They have good components to stop this Tampa Bay offense. Looks like Deshaun Jackson's trying to get back in there as well, saying he's a chance to play in this game, so we'll see how that turns out late in the week. Early in the week, this is a Cowboy game for me. I just need to see some injuries come back later in the week, Jimmy.
Yeah, a lot of people backing your breakdown there. Tom Marino saying Martin, the best interior offensive lineman in the league. Completely different offensive line without him. Robert Weimer, afraid to go back to Dallas. I understand when one team seems to get you each week, you don't want to back them. Nick Go says, I like the Bucs to cover, but Cowboys at home where all calls go their way is tough. Tasha Batista, I really think the Bucs plus the points is the play here. A bit worried about Zeke going nuts. That was such a good call. I'm shocked that they kept throwing Zeke into that front 7.
He was taking a beating too, Jimmy. Like, he took some shots where his head bounced off the turf and helmet to helmets. I'm saying, like, look, guys, if you're up 10-7 in the second half, I get it, but they were down. I was like, there's no read. He's your only shot to make a run if you do in the playoffs, and you're running him right into the ground.
Yeah, it's just a mistake, just a short-sighted mistake. One question, we need to move on because a lot of games to break through, but do you have any feel on this total? Do you understand why it's gone from an opener of 44 up to 46.5 and some 47s?
Yeah, I do. I actually like, because it's funny, because you said, wait a second, I just saw the Dallas Cowboys get shut out. How are you going to do something like that? You can't take it week to week like that. It's just one of those weeks in a bad spot. Dallas should be able to do whatever they want on offense. So if you get a decent effort from the quarterback, Dak Prescott, who he just has to hit his targets, just keep the chains moving. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to be really good in between the tackles against this football team and run for well over 100 yards. That should open up the passing game. And then you have Boomer Bust on the other side, Jimmy, which is what we always talk about. Jameis Winston's going to throw the ball all over the lot. He's going to get intercepted. He's going to get sacked. He's going to have a big play to Mike Evans here and there. I like the over in this game because, again, you're looking at a dome type of environment. Nothing to lose for Tampa Bay. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at this football game, and I lean towards the over here.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for letting us know. That will help us for our study this week. This is a game that we need to get through quickly. It's not one of the games they're going to be cutting out. Vikings at Lions. Open Vikings -5, now mostly -5.5, a few -6s. Total open at 43, now 43.5 across the board. Vikes coming off an impressive 41-17 win at home over the Dolphins. And when I look back at last week, that was the play that really, really upset me for not taking it. It just seems so simple. I know the Vikings got up to that early lead, and then the Dolphins came back. But after that miracle Miami spot with the Vikings with their new offensive coordinator, at least the Vikings team total over. I'm very, very upset at myself for not being on that. Just a situation that I don't think would have happened if I could have been on that Friday show with you guys. Dalvin Cook, 136 yards, career high, 19 carries. Latavius Murray, 68 rushing yards. Everything looking like Kevin Stefanski was supposed to be in charge of this offense. Barr and Hunter each had 2 of the 9 sacks attacks on Tannehill. Cousin threw touchdown passes to Diggs and Robinson. 14 for 21, 215 yards for the Vikings. That's the second highest score they've had in 5 years under Zimmer. Lions coming off 14-13 loss at Buffalo. Galladay finished with 146 yards. Riddick and Zenner had nice games, 8 for 47, 10 for 45. Stafford did about what you could expect from him. It just seems like he's always limping around the field in every time. He just seems beaten up at all times of the season. Vikings at Lions. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Yeah, last week was nice, and I had Minnesota by double digits. I thought they were in a really good spot in a get-right type of game after having a really tough schedule. And then you saw the 21-0 lead evaporate to 21-17. And I'm saying, why did I do this to myself with Kirk Cousins? But thank goodness they were good on the ground, got back to their senses, and dominated in the second half. If you remember last time, Jimmy, these two teams matched up, a much healthier Detroit squad got absolutely freight trained. And you saw, again, 9 sacks this past weekend out of the Minnesota Vikings, who I believe they had they had 10 or 11 or maybe even 12 sacks against Matthew Stafford last game. I watched the game versus Buffalo that they played. This is not a very good offense for the Detroit Lions, and they're very banged up. So if you say, it's Kenny Galladay and not much else, Minnesota Vikings are going to be able to tear this team apart because they're going to come after Matthew Stafford, who is banged up. Their offensive line is banged up. I doubt they're going to bring Kerryon Johnson back for the last 2 games of meaningless football and risk future injury. So if you're going to have a slower running back with LeGarrette Blount and 1 wide receiver now with a healthy Xavier Rhodes and a healthy secondary for the Minnesota Vikings, it should get ugly. But then, Jimmy, we look at the line and be like, why is this line 5.5? They killed this team last game. This team's out of it. Minnesota absolutely has to win this football game to continue and get a playoff spot or at least lock down that 6th seed. Early in the week, Jimmy, looks really easy just to take the Minnesota Vikings here, doesn't it?
It does. And I feel like if it's one of those plays that needs to be done early in the week, or there's going to be 7s on the board. In fact, I expect there to be 7s on the board by the time we do this show on Friday. I think this is a move that needs to be made early in the week, and that was something I've stopped doing over the last 5 or 6 weeks. But I think 2 weeks left in the season that we're going to find angles early in the week that other people are going to see as well and hammer. What do you think about this total? Do you think the Lions team total under is in play?
I do think the Lions team total is under play, and I also think the actual over-under is in play because what did you see that we really liked last week, Jimmy, by the Minnesota Vikings? They got back to the ground game. You know who's really good against the ground game over the past, 5 to 6 weeks since they got Snacks Harrison? The Detroit Lions. So it's almost like one of those two things where steel's going to meet steel in this football game. The Vikings are much, much more talented overall, but at least you have a fighting shot. This isn't going to be gaping holes left wide open where, they're going to be hitting home runs from 50 yards out. They're going to have to work for the yards on the ground. And I think if you come into a divisional game on the road, Jimmy, and especially, look, we always talk about you don't need style points. Minnesota would gladly take a 23-20 win as much as they would take a 31-3 win in this game. Just win and get home, but it is going to be a little bit tougher sledding to go on the ground this week, say, than what it was versus the Dolphins last week.
Oh, that's a great point. Great insight. Let's move on to Giants at Colts. They will be cutting this game out. Open Colts -9. It has stayed. Total opened at 47, now 46.5 across the board. Giants are coming off being shut out 17-0 at home by the Titans. We talked about Barkley being shut down. Eli Manning finished 21 of 44 for 229 yards. How these stories are coming out, oh, yeah, we want to keep Eli Manning next year. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was reading. What absolutely ludicrous. I don't see any possible way he's behind center for these Giants or for any team in the NFL. And listen to this, we don't want him in Canada either, so find some other place to play. Giants center Spencer Pulley left in the second half with a calf injury. Odell Beckham missed his second straight game with a quad problem. Colts are coming off their most impressive win of the season, 23-0 home over the Cowboys. Now won 7 of 8. Mac with the Giants day. This improved defense. Wow, this Colts defense allowed 27 points over the past 3 games. And that's against good teams. I mean, Texans and Cowboys and tough teams. This is a dangerous Colts squad. Luck not having to do too much. Remember, beginning of the year, he has to throw 50 passes a day. Now he's 16 of 27 for 192 yards. T.Y. Hilton, 5 passes for 85 yards. The guy's been dealing with an illness. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. This magical Luck-Hilton combination just continues to roll, as do the Colts. But this is a big spread, -9. What are you thinking here earlier in the week, Donnie?
Yeah, look, I like the Giants fight. They didn't give up in the Titans game. They just weren't good enough. The rain's coming down. You have the aging, decrepit quarterback. They look like they weren't interested in the game. You have your best wide receiver down, and the Titans really took the fight to the Giants and they couldn't get out of their own way. At least it's going to be a little bit more conducive environment to scoring for them. But I can see almost the same type of game plan. Do you want to step in front of Indianapolis at home right now, a team fighting for their life to try to get into the playoffs, which a team that's talking about, yeah, I don't know if I want to shut down Eli Manning. I don't know if I want to shut down Odell Beckham. We'll see how it goes later in the week. This is a football team's traveling into Indianapolis just saying to myself, you know what? Doesn't matter if we win in this football game. Like, I'm just trying to preserve and get through week 17 and be healthy for the offseason because nothing matters. You know what matters in Indianapolis? We got to win this football game. I think it's a similar type of result to what you saw last week, which the Cowboys are much more equipped at dealing with the Indianapolis team. Indianapolis' offense should go up and down the field versus the Giants with very little resistance. You know, Marlon Mack healthy again. He looks great. Ran against a tough front seven. That offensive line is really coming back into play, especially since Kelly came back at center. T.Y. Hilton, you know, they said he was banged up. Game time decision was running by that team left and right, making big plays, causing havoc in the secondary. And I see a lot more. But you do see it. You say, boy, 9 seems like a lot of points. If Indianapolis wins this game, it's going to be by double digits.
Yeah, I have to think that's the case. 9 points. Some great notes coming from the chat, especially Nick O says Giants can't run against Colts. Look what they just did to Zeke. Absolutely right. I guess maybe I'm kind of reading this wrong because I did think that the under was appealing and I could understand this half-point move. I don't think the Giants are going to put up many points, but when you say the Colts are going to be moving up and down the field, would that take you off of the under?
That would take me off of the under. Now, normally looking at the Giants, they're not a big play offense, and especially, Jimmy, you have to wait because if Odell Beckham doesn't come back, the Giants are not a big play offense, and you think they would lean more on the running game, more on the short screens because that's all they have. Their deep threat, their most electric guy you don't have to worry about. Now you can roll coverage to other areas that you might, not be able to do if Odell Beckham was playing in this game. But on the opposite side, I think Indianapolis is going to look. If you don't have the Giants or the Dallas Cowboys have a great front four and get a ton of pressure. And you would figure that they would be the ones that would hold up against a tough offensive line and say, look, you're not going to run the ball and bully us around. They were bullied by Indianapolis. I can't wait to see what that Indianapolis front line does to that weak Giants front line. There's not very many playmakers in that front seven. And who's checking T.Y. Hilton? I just can see one of those games, Jimmy, where Indianapolis is in the 30s in this game. We just have to see what kind of effort you're going to get out of the New York Giants.
Wow, so after that talk, maybe stay off of the unders all told, even the Giants team total under, maybe the Colts team total over is the most appealing play. I love that breakdown. Looking forward to hammer this all week and then hit this again on Friday. But that is that of the full game over, full game under, Giants team total under or over, Colts team total under or over? Is the Colts team total over the most appealing out of all 6 of those?
I like that. I think it is because I don't see much resistance out of the New York Giants. I really don't because the Colts aren't going to come in here and just say, well, we'll run the ball 55 times. I mean, Frank Wright's an aggressive coordinator calling plays. They're going to take their shots deep, and there's not much back there that can stop you. I think a lot of, you're going to have a big game out of the tight end because the linebackers aren't that athletic for the New York Giants. You're going to be able to bully that front line as long as you slow down Olivier Vernon. Andrew Luck can sit back there all day. It's just there's not a lot to like if you're lining up and trying to take the Giants in this football game.
Oh, it's a great breakdown. This is I love this stuff, Donnie. I absolutely love this stuff so much. I did not see the Colts as a team total over before we did that. That's the beauty of this show. Now it's a shining light screaming at me.
It's
beautiful.
A good one.
Let's move on to. Yeah, I like it. Let's move on and let's get through this game quickly. Jags at Dolphins. And shout out to our guys here in the chat. I'm sorry we don't have enough time to talk to you guys enough. This show could easily be 2 hours, and it almost is on Fridays. But shout out to World Videos, his best betting show, lost 1 teaser in 4 weeks. Great stuff, guys. Acoustic Library, giving shouts out for the Panthers, plus 6.5. Just love you guys so much. Okay, Jaguars, Dolphins, Tony. Let's get through this quickly. Dolphins open -3.5 now, a mix of -4s and 4.5s. It's a Sunday in Miami, so nice weather. 73 Fahrenheit, low 64, wind 9 miles per hour. Total open at 39.5. You can get it from anywhere between 38.5 and 39.5. Jaguars have lost 9 of 10. Do we really have to watch Cody Kessler for another week? It's unbelievable that they're doing this. It's like they have a disdain for their own fans. 9 of 17, 57 yards with a pick. Oh, God, 1 touchdown drive and 31 possessions. The team managed 192 yards. This is horrifying. I don't want to watch this anymore. Jacksonville's leading rusher because Fournette had only 46 yards. I mean, how easy is it to put 8 in the box against this squad? Ronnie Harris injured his left knee, which sucked because Jared Wilson came in to replace him, and then he left with a leg injury. This is just not the Jaguars squad. Can you believe that this is a 4-10 Jaguars squad we're talking about? Unbelievable. Dolphins coming off ugly 41-17 loss, 30-plus points for the 6th game this season they've given up, 400-plus yards for the 9th time this year. Tannehill looked terrible. Balazs came in, 123 yards. Gore got hurt. Fitzpatrick looked okay, I guess. Xavier Howard is just so important to this team. So important to this team. Any early feels on this ugly game between the Jaguars and Dolphins, Donnie?
Yeah, I don't think the Miami Dolphins necessarily gave up last week. I just think they were in a really bad spot. That was a perfect situation for Minnesota to get right, and they did. That was the healthiest team that you're going to see on the field late in the season for the Vikings. So you got their best punch. And say what you want. You had a team that got down 21-0 early and fought back. So it wasn't like they just rolled over and got pasted 42-0. They just didn't have the talent here. And here's what I want to say about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, we're reading tea leaves again into the locker room. And they're asking questions to Jalen Ramsey about, hey, Coach Doug Marrone, what do you think? Yeah, I really don't care about Coach. I care about myself right now. That says a lot about the mentality for the Jacksonville Jaguars because on defense, they're relatively healthy and not playing the best. I mean, they did play good last week, so don't get me wrong, but their mindset is completely wrong. If you have Blake Bortles, if they said this today, Blake Bortles is going to start this weekend, I would take the Jacksonville Jaguars with the points getting 4, and I would love that play. But if you're going to run Cody Kessler out there, and then you're going to put it on record saying, we're going to put Leonard Fournette on a pitch count the rest of the year because we just don't want to get him injured. So this offense is going to be 100% absolutely anemic going on the road again. So I'm hoping that it's one of those things where Blake Bortles is in his contract. Like if he gets hurt, then they still have to pay him for like another year. So that's the only reason why they're not putting him in football games because they're deliberately tanking and trying to lose games. Now going on the road and say what you want. Miami Dolphins play well at home. They haven't quit on the season. Yes, Frank Gore is a big loss in the locker room, but they have capable running backs that can come in. As long as they can protect Tannehill a little bit in this football game, Miami Dolphins should win this game by 7+ points. The only thing I'm worried about is if Blake Bortles makes a return because the Jacksonville Jaguars will be live in this game. As long as Kessler is at quarterback, they can't move the football, and Miami should be able to move the football and get some points. Dolphins by a touchdown early in the week for me.
That's such a good point because I would jump all over the Dolphins immediately. But you're right. Mm-hmm. What if Bortles comes back? Is that an option? Are they talking about that, Donnie?
He says he would put him in the right situation, but you can see the marching orders because no matter what happens in the NFL, people's jobs are on the line every single week. And if you're a head football coach and Tom Coughlin is telling you up top, like, Doug Marrone, you're going to be back next year, but we're not playing Blake Bortles. We can't have him get injured. So don't worry about it. Just play Cody Kessler and just see what happens. That's the only thing that I'm thinking is coming down because Doug Marrone, I know a lot of people don't like him, but most NFL coaches aren't idiots. You're not going to have a record-setting, ridiculous streak over the past 3 weeks where you can't score touchdowns or even move the football and then say, well, our guy that we drafted in the first round a couple of years ago who can move the football, we're not even going to put him in the football game. There's something amiss in the front office where he's going to play. But I still want to read the tea leaves as the week goes on because even if the line, Jimmy, creeps up to 5, 5.5, 6, I still have the Dolphins winning this game by a touchdown or more as long as Kessler plays.
Absolutely, as long as Kessler plays. Important not to make a move on this early in the week because that is such an important point. Let's move on to another game we got to blow through. I don't know why. It's a very exciting game. Bills at Patriots. At least exciting to me, but we have to blow through it. Open Patriots -13, still mostly -13. Some 12.5s are on the board. Total open at 45.5. Now a mix of 45s and 44.5s. You know what? I just quickly, Donnie, do you think that if Bortles comes in, we jump over on that over immediately?
Yes, 100%. Jimmy, 100%. I'm thinking the same way you are.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting. God, this is so exciting. Thank God missing last Friday really, really messed me up all week. Okay, so we're in Boston. Sunday in Boston, high of 42, low of 32, wind 16 miles per hour. Bills coming off 14-13 home win over the Lions, snapped a 2-game skid, one despite not any of their 3 running backs healthy. McCoy, Ivory inactive. Marcus Murphy dislocating his left elbow. Josh Allen, 13 for 26, 24 yards. Great story. Robert Foster, those of you may remember him out of Alabama, undrafted, coming in and rolling. Obviously, a great character to stay in that practice squad and to fight and to get the opportunity and take advantage of it. Much respect to you, Robert Foster. Patriots coming off an ugly 17 loss at Pittsburgh. Very confused. I'm very confused about this Patriots squad right now. Finished 3-5 away from Gillette Stadium. First losing record since 2009. Brady finished 25 of 36, 279 yards, touchdown and a pick. Gronkowski, ever since he tried to make a tackle, 2 picks for 21 yards. The Patriots, 14 flags for 106 yards. What the hell's going on in New England? I take a look at this line early, and I'm not going to do it. I wanted to talk it out, but I take a look at this line early and think, man, give me the Bills.
Yeah, no, and you wouldn't be wrong there, but sometimes I like to take a look at what's actually going on. You went into the game, which I had Pittsburgh, and I thought Pittsburgh would win the game outright. They actually did. But you were getting in an environment where this one team had basically laying their cards on the table saying, we're all going to get fired if we lose this football game and don't beat the Patriots. So they were in a tough spot to begin with going in there after a devastating loss to the Miami Dolphins, who they never play well at the Miami Dolphins. But let's take a look at the Buffalo Bills, right? When they had to step up in competition earlier in the season. Indianapolis Colts, now again, you backup quarterbacks in, and rookie quarterbacks still not playing yet. 37-5, they get beat at the Colts. They play Indianapolis at home, and again, backup quarterback, old man, 25-6, they get shellacked. Then they go on the road after that and start to play the New York Jets. But here's the point I'm trying to make. After that Chicago game, you played the Jets, suck. You played Jacksonville, they suck. You play the Miami Dolphins, you lost to them on the road. They're not a very good football team, not above average. You played the New York Jets, who stink. You played the Detroit Lions, who stink. Now you're going to say, I'm going to take my rookie quarterback on the road to New England, where they're foaming at the mouth right now to get back on pace and try to see if they can get back in line for that number 2 seed, knowing that the Philadelphia Eagles are favored against the Houston Texans. So if the Texans slip up against the Eagles and they win, they're back in that 2 seed here, and they know they need that bye week to get ready. Also, when you take a look at Josh Allen, who I love, the kid is a gamer. He doesn't have very many weapons, at wide receiver, and they're down 4 running backs at this point. So you're going to bring Shady McCoy back off of a hamstring injury and think he's going to do something? This smacks of 31-7, 31-10, 31-14 at the worst case scenario. This is a double-digit win, get-right game for the New England Patriots, where I don't think they have to sweat the entire game in this one, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was hoping to talk this out. I guess it's just a bias that I have watching the Patriots look poor the last couple of weeks, not making plays when they need to make them, not used to watching them like that. Spike, though, says Pats lose by double digits. Mark Jones says Bills Super Bowl. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Packers at Jets. Let me quickly see if this – I don't believe this is one of the games that we have to do a little bit of extra. We got to fly through these games. So if we don't need to – we don't need to cut this out.
Probably
Let's
not.
break down this quickly. Open Packers -3.5. Now pick'ems. Now we're dealing with Rodgers. Does he have a hamstring issue? Is he going to get shut down Sunday in New York? 45 Fahrenheit high, 36 Fahrenheit low, wind 12 miles per hour. It is sunny. Packers coming off that 24-17 loss at Chicago, which I thought was too easy. I was just beside myself watching so many people take the Packers last week. And then my dad went off. He's like, these guys don't know. It's a bye. My dad loves the vividness bias, recency bias thing. And we were going off about the vividness bias. And this is not that the Packers that you remember. Rodgers, 25 of 42, 274 yards, injured his groin. Devontae Adams, his only option, 8 receptions, 119 yards. Bulaga missed his second game in a row. Kenny Clark sat out with an injury. Aaron Jones left the game with a first quarter knee injury. Randall Cobb had a concussion. Jets are coming off a 29-22 loss on Saturday. I had the Jets. It was a push. Darnold went 24 for 38, 253 yards, 2 TDs, 0 picks. McGuire just 18 for 42. Are you going to wait to find out what's going on with Rodgers on this one?
Yeah, I think it's pretty important there because even with Rodgers in the game, Jimmy, I still think the Jets are going to be live because they're going to play well at home. They're playing hard. Darnold's playing good. Last week, again, people forget the Jets had the lead with like 4 or 5 minutes to go against the Houston Texans at home, and those Texans teams are much, much better than the Packers. The Packers haven't won a single game on the road, so now we're going to ask the Packers after a tough, you still have quote-unquote playoff hopes last week, right, Jimmy? We own the Chicago Bears. You got beaten up physically in that football game, lost your best tailback. Are you going to rush your offensive line back in this? Aaron Rodgers got banged up in the second half, so you're going to rush your franchise guy when you're out of the playoffs in this direction? Even if he does play, I think the Jets are a live play to me, especially at a pick'em. But if he's not in the game, that sends that white flag up because I know how good Devontae Adams is. Devontae Adams is really good. It's because Rodgers and him work incredibly together, the same way it used to be with Jordy Nelson. You say, well, why does Jordy Nelson leave? And he's obsolete in the NFL. Because when Aaron Rodgers can throw you dimes and you guys are on the same page, it doesn't matter if you're covered. You're wide open because of where the ball placement can be. If he doesn't play here, I think the Jets roll them right off the field.
Very interesting breakdown, and it'd be better, I guess, if Rodgers was in there because you get a better line than if you're taking the Jets. We have to hurry. Natalie needs to shoot. I begged for 5 extra minutes. She's given us 5 extra minutes, but no more. Texans, Eagles. Open Texas -1.5. Now Eagles favored 1, -1.5, -2. I'd read this script somewhere before, Donnie. Nick Foles comes in and saves the day. Why don't I not bother wasting time with an intro and hear what you have to say about Texans at Eagles?
It should be good. You know what I'm actually looking at, Jimmy, more than the side itself? Looks like you're going to get decent weather in Philadelphia on Sunday, about 45 degrees, winds around 10 miles an hour, which is normal. I actually like the over in this game because what I'm seeing out of the Eagles offense, short, quick passing game, starting to run the football a little bit more. Nick Foles taking care of it, taking some deep shots down the field. And the one thing that the Eagles secondary does usually struggle with is a big-time wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins coming to town. You're going to be able to go deep. You're going to be able to go intermediate. You're going to have to roll your coverages. You're not going to be able to pay attention to the opposite side of the field. Key injury in this one is Lamar Miller. But I have to say, I actually agree with the line movement. I think the Eagles should be favored in this spot. Not by 3.5 or 4 points, but somewhere around that -1, -2 range, I do think is a fair number. You have the Texans going on the road again, went up to New Jersey last week and almost caught a loss, pulled that game out. Now you fly back home. Now you got to fly back up to Philadelphia, who's going to throw the kitchen sink at you because they still think there's going to be an opportunity to get into the playoffs as opposed to more of a side. I think the 45 is a little bit light here, Jimmy. I can see both of these teams playing into the 20s, making some big plays here and there. Eagles do have a very good pass rush, but at the same time, you got a quarterback that will Foster the other side. He can run away from those defenders and make big plays because there's not a lot of playmakers as linebackers or the secondary there coming in for Watson.
Oh, I think that's a great read. I think the over has to be in play. Just in under 30 seconds, is Philly buzzing? Do you guys have some hope in that city now?
No, it's not. The only thing we're happy about, to me, is I have another week of football that I can actually turn the TV on and be like, this game doesn't mean anything. So in that effect, but the Eagles aren't going. The Eagles will get sandblasted in the playoffs. So regardless of who's a quarterback or whatever's going on. So I'm just enjoying the fact that I can root for my team another week and turn the TV on and say, hey, look, we got a game. I wonder if we win this. But it's a long shot to get to the playoffs. I don't think they're getting there. But even if they do get there, yeah, I'm really looking forward to going down to the Superdome and playing the Saints again. That'll be fun.
Jesus, Donnie. I bet you don't believe in Santa Claus either. Holy shit.
Yeah, you gotta be a realist. I mean, I'm going to root, and I hope they make the playoffs, but for what? For who for what? As Ricky Waters once told us in Philadelphia. What's the point here?
Oh, wow. I love it, Donnie. I love it, man. Okay, Falcons at Panthers. Open Panthers -3, now -3 at plus money. Mostly -2s. Total open to 47.5, down a half point. Sunday in Charlotte. Beautiful. 57 Fahrenheit high, 37 low. Falcons beat up a lousy Cardinals team. Tevin Coleman, they finally had a rush game. 11 rushes for 145 yards. They can win when they do that. Carolina coming off that ugly loss. Is Rivera even playing? Let's see if we can get through this game as quickly as possible, Donnie.
Yeah, it comes down to it. If Cam Newton is starting in here and he's giving points to somebody else, I don't care how well that Carolina team played, I'm going to be all over Atlanta if Cam Newton shows up. He could care less about playing right now, and you're going to let him go out there again? I can't understand it for the life of me. I'll read the tea leaves all week where Ron Rivera said, we're going to have a powwow late in the week, and we'll talk about if you want to play. Did you guys watch Cam Newton last night? And you're going to bet that? That's how I'll leave it until Friday.
I think that makes sense. Would you think that the under's got to be in play at 47?
Oh, 100%. 100. Unless Christian McCaffrey runs for 345 yards and 4 touchdowns, it absolutely has to be. Carolina's playing very well on defense. Atlanta's going outdoors. Julio Jones is banged up. Cam Newton can't throw 5 yards. Miracle. 47, give me the under.
I think I need to jump on this total early. I don't see how it could possibly stay at 47. Let's keep rolling quickly.
If Cam Newton misses the game real quick too, Jimmy, Taylor Heineke or whoever's going to come? I mean, come on, man. Under all day long. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great read. Rams at Cardinals. Open Rams -14. Mostly -14s, couple 13.5. Total open to 47.5. Cardinals looked awful in their 40-14 loss. Rosen looked terrible. Glennon came in and looked better, so much better, because we're used to seeing Rosen. Rams coming off that wildly entertaining 30-23 loss that woke their asses up from a slumber. Rams at Cardinals. Is this too many points for the Rams, or are they going to bounce back and smash?
Yeah, it's not too many points because, again, we're looking at an offensive team that can they even get to 10 points? Can the Arizona Cardinals get to 10 points in this game? So when you talk about 14s, it's not that many points. The Rams should just detonate this football team. They should get into the mid-30s against that defense, and I don't know what they're going to do on offense to do anything against the Rams defense here. It's a stone-cold blowout winner for the Rams in this game.
Wow, do you like the Rams team total over or the Cardinals team
Love
total
it. I
under?
love everything. Yep,
Rams
team. Yep, Rams team total over, Arizona team total under. Both like them.
Wow. Very, very exciting. Bears at Niners Sunday in San Francisco. Scattered showers, 11 miles per hour wind. Bears -4.5, now -4s across the board. Total open at 44, being bet down 1.5 to 42.5 across the board. Bears coming off a nice 24-17 home win over the Packers. Trubisky 20-28, 235 yards, 120.4 rating. Mac is back in action. Wow, he looks good. After they shut down Jared Goff, Mac has 2.5 sacks. Leonard Floyd adds 2. Now the Niners coming off a big win over the Seahawks. Mullins has looked better and better every week. That was a mistake by me. I thought that Beathard should have been brought back in, but I'm really loving the way Mullins is playing. I think this is a trickier spot for the Bears than it looks like. Niners at home in the rain. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Yeah, same game as last week, Jimmy. Isn't this the same exact game with Seattle? Seattle comes off a massive victory, takes a deep breath because they're in the playoffs. And then you flip over the coin here to this week. Chicago finally gets over the hump, beats the Packers. We're proposing to girlfriends at midfield. We're celebrating in the locker room. Then we got to go to a nice little sterile environment out in San Francisco and play the exact same type of game that was just played the week before. I like San Francisco early in the week here.
So do I. I like San Francisco early in the week. I think it's a very tricky spot for the Bears. Very tricky spot for the Bears. Now we come to a quick go through a Saints, Steelers at Saints. Open Saints -7. Now a couple of -6s, mostly -5.5s. This total, this is probably the biggest move other than the Eagles game on the spread. The totals moved down 3.5 points. Opened at 4. Opened at 57.5. Now 53.5 across the board. Steelers coming off that 17-10 home win over the Patriots. Jalen Samuels ran for season high 142 yards. Looked very good. Connor may be back. Roethlisberger 235 yards, but he looks a little banged up. Cam Hayward getting pressure. Inside linebacker Vince Williams looking great in coverage. Joe Hayden is just a hell of a football player. Then the Saints coming off this ugly 12-9 win. Anything to help us move into our study? Steelers at Saints, Donnie.
I think both these teams wake up on offense in this game, Jimmy. I mean, I think you got a little bit of a downgrade. I think you're maybe getting a little bit of, opening up and say 53, 54. Now you're seeing like 52, actually 52, 53, still staying in that 53 range. You think you get them on turf? I think Drew Brees will get right this week. I think they played last week against a division opponent, just needing the victory. Also, the Steelers coming to town, they need this win as well. I think they'll open it up a little bit. I think the pass will be a little bit easier to come by. You're on a fast surface being in a dome. I like the over in this game because I think Big Ben's going to go boom or bust like he typically does. I think Drew Brees and that offense will open it up a little bit more against the Steelers here being at home. I like the over early in the week, Jimmy.
I think that makes so much sense. And we're just taking advantage of all these people, and it's just a natural thing having a recency bias. They both see both these teams score nothing, and I think we just take advantage of it. And I don't know if it goes any lower. I think we're going to see U-shaped movement on this total. I think you're absolutely right thinking that there's going to be points and both these offenses wake up. I think that's a great call. Let's just keep rolling. Unfortunately, these are exciting games, and we have to keep rolling. Chiefs at Seahawks opened at a pick'em. Now Chiefs -2.5. Total opened up at 53.5, pretty much there, 53. Scattered showers, wind at 9 miles per hour. Chiefs coming off that heartbreaking loss. Mahomes just 243 yards. They got Eric Berry back. Spencer Ware hurt. We got to wrap up very, very quickly, and I will be doing that, Rafa. Just give me a few more seconds here. Chiefs at Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are live here, Donnie.
Yeah, Seahawks will be alive in this game, and it's one of those things, Jimmy, well, I'll wait it out and see if he ever gets to 3 points, and then I'll be really interested in the Seahawks. If it stays at 2.5 or lower, I might be leaning towards the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll wait later in the week to get some injury updates on basically what they had last week, but you're right, devastating loss at home to a really good football team. I think the Chiefs overall are better, but hey, if you're going to give me 3 with the Seahawks at home, it's something I'm going to take interest in.
especially with the Seahawks getting pummeled in the press for that disappointing showing in San Francisco. Yeah, I agree completely. And finally, if you could just touch on this Broncos Raiders Monday night. Again, we're going to be able to hammer all these games. We're going to have the whale capper. It's going to be great. Open Broncos -2.5. It stayed there. Total has gone down a little bit from the 45. It's going to be rainy in Oakland on Monday, 13-mile-per-hour winds. Donnie, do you have any feel on the Monday nighter just to help us with our study this week?
I still think Denver's game this year. I still think they're playing hard for their football coach, even though they're not winning games. Oakland just leaves a lot to be desired. So with a line that's sitting at 2.5, Jimmy, that means you're expecting, if you're betting Oakland to win the football game. I'm not so sure they can do it. I'll lean Broncos early in the week.
Lean Broncos early in the week. That makes sense. I found that I've been very excited about the Raiders, finding value with the Raiders at home, and I've made some mistakes this year, and I have been rewarded at times this year. I'm looking forward to break down this Monday nighter. Man, it's an absolute treat to work with you, Donnie. I can't wait till Friday. But this week, I think I need to make some moves. I think I need to make some moves in the next 24 hours. I think there's going to be some. So if I wait, I'll beat myself up. Just a few moves, maybe 3 or 4 plays. So I expect to do that in the next 24 hours. Maybe sit down, watch this video again, and follow through with some of our calls. Man, it's an absolute treat to work with you, Donnie. All you guys in our chat, we don't have a show without you guys. You bring us laughter and humor, also great insights, and you inspire us to do better and be better. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. All you guys, thank you so much. And Donnie, my man, will you put a bow on this bad boy and send us into the week?
Yep, absolutely. Hey, good to have you back, Jimmy. We'll have a good time. We'll talk about it on Friday right before the holiday kickback. And Jimmy brings up a real good point before we get out of here. Keep in mind, week 16 and 17, read those tea leaves. Coach is going to come out of nowhere. So-and-so's not playing this weekend. We're not playing for much. So early week moves are going to save you a lot of money in week 16 and 17. So he does bring up a good point. For everybody here at the Audible, he's Jimmy the Bag. I'm Donnie Rightside. We'll see you Friday. We'll get back to it, see some injury information, and see if we can pick some winners out. Have a good day, guys.